Hey everybody, we just finished up the live stream from this week where we go over this German Christmas pyramid.
A Weinig Pyramide.
We're going to show you how we got from idea to prototype to final and all the things we did in between using Studio and Trace.
We're going to learn how to do flip cuts. We're going to make a really cool jig to cut all of the Morrises for the fan parts.
And if you're not watching this live, every other Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific time, we have a show where we show you how to do all these cool things. So come watch us live. You can ask us questions and win prizes, and we hope you enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Shaper Sessions. My name is Jake.
Hi, and I'm Sean.
And today we're going to be breaking the #1 rule in a wood shop. Don't light a candle in a wood shop. We're going to light multiple. Today is the long form, part 1 of our holiday show, where we get to dive into a project that's going to take a little bit longer, right?
A little bit longer, you know, we still got time. I mean, every project takes longer than you think it does, but we still got time to make something incredible. So today we're going to walk through how we got here, you know, all the way from a drawing right here, which we'll show in a minute, to some cardboard prototypes, to a really rough wooden version, to kind of our final version, and kind of bring you through it, really to explain how do you get your ideas from your head into the real world.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty excited. I feel like we've done this show maybe like 3 or 4 times over the years, and it's like definitely my favorite show.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, making gifts for people and giving them away, it's something inside of me gets really excited for that.
Well, we get to do this as a 2-part show too. This one being a little bit longer, a more intricate project, and then the next one is you've waited too long, you have very little time left, but you still have to make gifts for
this is where I
everybody in the
excel
family.
normally, you know, because it's the week before, you know, the
late
holidays, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna make something for everybody.
Suddenly I'm feeling so generous.
I think I got plenty of time. So make sure you join that. That'll be in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
In 2 weeks, where we'll kind of go over some kind of more cool projects, but don't take as much time as this. And today we're going to really dive into design to fabrication.
Yeah.
So nice.
As always, folks, this is a live show, so please make good use of that comment section. Ask your questions. We're going to go over all of those questions, all the good questions that we can demo live at the end during the Q&A. Of course, about halfway through, we're going to do a quick break where we'll pop a poll question up. You need to answer that poll question in order to enter your name into a chance to win some fun things.
Totally. Yeah. All right, so let's kick it off. What are we building here, Jake?
It dawned on me that we've done this show a couple times with Sean and I, and we haven't really properly introduced you.
Oh, that's true.
We just say, "Hey, I'm Sean."
I'm Sean, and
Sean,
you're Jake.
What do you do? What do you do here?
What do I
Shaper?
do? Well, I'm actually product lead of Origin, which means I'm in charge of the software and the experience of Origin and all the wonderful things people make and any problems that may or may not come up. That's my problem as well. But yeah, I'm here. I've been here 8 years, kind of all over the place, from testing to hardware to software, just kind of meandering my way through. And now, you know, I'm mainly doing software, but you know, when Russ took off for a little bit, I stepped in to help out, and you know, I love building these things. So it's kind of been one of those things where every week when I'm on sessions, I get to split a little time and help design something or build something. And this is actually a project I've been wanting to build for years.
It was perfect. You came here like you knew exactly what you wanted to do.
Well, it was
All right,
like,
let's make it happen.
you know, it was one of those things where Flo Meigel, who is a German master joiner who we've worked with in the past, he and I were talking at a trade show once of like, hey, this is like a very classic German Christmas theme. And there's a whole history of the whole thing, and we might talk for a few minutes about it, but me and him talked about building one, and it was like, we never talked about it. It never happened. And when you were like, hey, we got to do that early holiday present, what are we going to do? And I was like, this. We can finally make the thing in my mind. And there's so many parts to it that we're going to walk you through it. But the cool thing that me and Jake did when we were building it and designing it was really about building a frame that's easily built by a lot of people, but can be customized to your heart's content. So we're going to take this thing apart in a few minutes and start going through how we built all the little parts and pieces. We'll have all the files, and then we're going to walk through Studio so you can see how we even got the files ready. So
yeah, consider this the foundation for you to add your flourish.
And there's so many cool things that
There's
we can
so
do. I
many,
mean, even as we were building it, me and Jake were like, oh, what if we did this or that? And it was like, wow, we don't have time for that.
We had like 15 minutes before the show started, and we are like, oh, we got to add this. And we did.
It did. So okay, so let's quickly talk about the general idea,
Yep.
and then we're going to get into some cutting and show kind of how we put all these things together. So initial idea, when I'm coming up with an idea and me and Jake are coming up with it, you got to draw it, you know? Even if you're not a good artist, you just can get so many ideas out really quickly by understanding, you know, how things are going to fit together or how big things should roughly be. And it's a lot faster to draw it than to try to build it. It's a lot cheaper. You'll just thank yourself, even just making like chicken scratches. So started with a drawing. And then I said, Jake, you know, I don't really know how big it should be. You know, we were going back and forth. Jake had actually this little one up top. We had an idea to make a real small one because they come in all sorts of different sizes. And we decided, you know, we're gonna go big because we got time. And so we then built this cardboard prototype. It's very fancy. Look, it even turns. Yeah. But looking at it, we were not happy with the height, the proportion, etc. It felt very squat. It felt like it didn't belong. So cardboard is not always, but it's a really good like real life CAD program, and you can figure out a lot of things just by hot gluing and putting some cardboard on. And our friend, our CEO Joe, helped me glue this thing together a little earlier.
Reverse engineered it.
Yeah, he like fixed a couple of things. It's even better. I mean, when I built it, it didn't even turn. I'm like, man, he's a mechanical engineer at heart, you know. So we build this just to really try to get through the idea and really make some proportion calls. One of the things that you're going to see as we go through this is you can add all sorts of details to objects, but really when it comes down to it, you want to step away and look from a distance and say, how does that make me feel? Is it too wide? Is it too tall? Is it this? Is it that? And I think when you build these prototypes, you'll really get a sense versus going to build this final thing and you're like, all my files don't work or nothing looks right. And it's like, once you get the proportions right, you can really tweak a bunch of other things. Okay, so we built the cardboard prototype. Then we built this really, really rough wooden version. And we learned a couple things.
Mechanical prototype.
This was really like, hey, you know, it's got to start spinning. And we were like thinking about how we would do it. But what you'll notice is the top spins and the platters don't. And we realized that getting these platters to kind of mate onto this little tiny shaft was pretty difficult. We also, surprisingly, couldn't get the heat to move it. So the heat is actually what's moving this. There's basically a vortex of heat coming around, and the fans are angled at such that when the heat comes through and rises, it twists it. So this was not moving. It was too heavy.
Too heavy, and the fan blades were mounted at 45 degrees.
That's right. We learned that. Most of these are rotated to more about 35 degrees. So once we fixed that helped. But, you know, doing something quick, just putting it together, we used like some very simple mortise and tenons, which we'll show when we take this one apart. And they make it really easy to do that. So we built that. We learned a couple things. And then we came to the final where we realized a thicker shaft with some cool interactions of how the platters are attached, which we'll show shortly, really solved a lot of problems. So that's kind of the process of how we move from a drawing through this. And when we started this Monday, so we iterated quite quickly, and you know, it is something where like you're not going to get here on your first go. So like when you have an idea for something, really figuring out those steps to get there is going to help you out, especially when you're working in studio. We built all the files in studio for this, and we're going to show that shortly about how we constructed it. But working small, you know, like for instance, with these, I didn't even cut the outsides with Origin. I just sized them on a table saw. Yeah. And I just cut the mortises. So like these are not flush. They're a little off, but it doesn't really matter for what we're doing. We got to the point where we decided, yep, we like this height. And you'll see some cool things where we reuse the uprights from the bottom. And that kind of brings us into our first little demo of these tenons and how they work. So I'm going to take this down. We can always bring them back up in Q&A if people have questions, but for now, they're in our way.
All right. I always like to start off with a little bit of sawdust. We're going to cut all the tenons. We're going to have Bench Pilot cut all the tenons, but we're going to do it all at once. So instead of ripping our stock into our strips, we're just going to cut all the tenons right next to each other and then rip it down after that.
Oh, thing is smoky. This fire alarm's going to go off in a second. Also, just a quick reminder, you know, when you have wood and candles and fire, please be careful. You know,
So careful.
you know, we had some more plans for how we were going to put all this together, and we just ran out of a little time. But there's so many options for how to set these candles up and really get a nice little setup. We'll probably talk through some of the things we didn't get to as we're going through the show. Should we just leave this one out in the middle, you think?
Yeah. Also, I'm going to attempt to pronounce the true German name of this thing. It is a Weihnachtspyramide. Weihnachtspyramide.
If he's wrong in the chat, correct him.
I have to say it like 3 times.
We did practice this earlier, but I told Jake you have to do this part because
But
I'm
basically,
not going to get this one.
Christmas pyramid.
Yeah, it's a Christmas pyramid. I mean, while Jake's setting up for these tenons, maybe I'll just kind of I spent a little bit of time kind of learning about the history of it, and it actually started out a little simpler, and this is an abridged version, but basically there was a small cross that didn't have this carousel that moved that was built, and they would put little tea light candles and kind of pine tree limbs on the corner. So it was kind of a pyramid with lights, but it didn't move. And eventually, when the train came along in the history of humanity, they started shipping fir trees everywhere, and that's kind of where the Christmas tree whole thing came about. Because the trains could move these trees all over, and they couldn't previously do it. And so then that thing, and it wasn't actually called that, it was a different name, got replaced by the tree. And so eventually this came back around, and someone decided, hey, what if we had some turning elements and brought those candles back? And it's kind of all over Germany. You know, it's kind of a classical holiday decoration, and I've been wanting to make one for so long. I was like, let's just do it. So that's a short history. You can go look on the internet if you want to find out more. There's plenty of lore. A lot of stuff that was like, oh, we don't know if it came from here or there, and there's argument about who originated it. So it's a pretty fun history lesson as well, you know. But let's jump into here, and we'll quickly talk about what we're going to do here. So Jake mentioned this. You've seen us cut tenons on Origin. We do it all the time. We thought, what if we tried a little interesting thing? So I'm going to jump into Studio, and before you lose it, a warning. This file has grown a lot, and I will clean it up, but I wanted to quickly explain.
Is it already available?
It's not already available because we were getting ready. Yeah. It will be available very soon. I just want to make sure it's all cleaned up and you don't have to struggle through all the problems I did. But if we come over to the screen here, Goose, what you're going to see is kind of a general. Oh, we got a little technical problem. Let me see if I can fix this. Let me start that over again. Okay, so let's see. I relaunched this, Goose. Do we have contact? While we're waiting on that, let me just explain the basics of what we were thinking here. So we have these 8 tenons here, and one of the cool things is I made them all the same, and I was a little worried that if they were all the same, they wouldn't look right, but I think the way they're spaced and the size, they look pretty good. And we just have a little square tenon on the end, and Jake and I were talking. We could rip this into small material and then reference it over and over on bench pilot and cut them like we normally do, or we could put them all together and in Studio just space them out the width of the blade on the table saw, cut them all at once with bench pilot, and then rip them on the table saw. And it worked out really well. It saves a lot of time, a lot less error, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I think time alone.
I mean, you got to make sure your fence is in the right spot, because otherwise, compounding error will haunt you. But it's a kind of an interesting, cool technique, I think, that we haven't really shown before. So, all right, so we have liftoff for technical. Thank you, Goose. This is the basic design of what I did, and it's a lot of circles right now, so ignore that. Also, Let's see. I'm going to try this. Okay. We have a new spotlight feature for Studio, so we can see what I'm actually hovering and clicking on. I'm still trying it out, so if it doesn't work out, let me know, and we'll go back to the old mode until I figure this out a little bit better. But you can see here, these are the tenons I've designed, and these kind of fit in the bottom base. And so it's just a 1/2-inch stock material with a little smaller tenon. And what I did is I took that over here, and we just copied it, and I grabbed the width of the table saw blade, and I just put them in between, and I duplicated them in between, and then we just made a file for that and sent it over. Now, what you're going to see, and I'll go out of this mode for a second. What you're going to see here is that we have these files, and in order to make this really easy, because you're going to see in a second, I've kind of just duplicated shapes all over the place from this main template area here. And all I need to do if I want to get this over to Origin is shift and select all these areas and turn off this reference path feature. And all that's going to do is it's going to make it a shape now. And so when I go to plan mode, we can see that these are just ready to be cut, and everything else in this entire world is a reference path. And so because Studio automatically syncs from Studio to Origin, anything that's a reference path gets ignored. So we can just kind of change what's reference path, import what we want, cut it, see if it works. When I'm prototyping, I'm doing this so often because I might get something wrong. Once I get these files out to you, they'll all be kind of just their own files, and that's fine. But if you're prototyping, I find building in one file so good because you can reference all your other elements. You can use the draw tool to measure things. You can even just drag shapes into areas that fit, and that really makes it easy. So
I call it the working file.
It's
got everything you need in it.
It really is a good way to think about it. Yep. So, okay, so here is this is the file, and I'm going to just send it over to Jake. He just put the tenon in the workstation, the tenon in the workstation. It's bigger than one tenon, obviously. And then he's just going to select the anchor that fits with it, which is the back right.
Bingo. And we could probably do it in one, but we'll do it in two.
Now, one key note about this whole project is right now it's not glued up. We designed and built this to be taken apart, so everything comes apart. It will go in a tiny little box. I would love to know if you think you would take it apart every year and put it in a box, or if you're going to glue it up and store this whole thing for the rest of the time.
Really clever. It's like, this seems so cumbersome to store. Like, let's make it flat
we do live in the San Francisco Bay Area, so space is a premium for us. But this one does come apart. You could glue the whole thing together, but we'll start taking it apart after we cut this so we can see some of the parts. Okay.
All right.
You ready to roll?
My settings are, gave myself a little roughing pass, going down to the full depth. Let's let it rip.
You want to? All right, so while we're doing that, we're going to actually bring our friend over here into camera. This is the Festool Cis Saw, and Jake's going to set it up so we can all see. And maybe if we set it up like this, people can see what we're doing here. Like that. Nice. That feel good? Yep. All right, so it's rounding all these corners on this tenon. Jake, anything while you were doing this that you were thinking, you would do differently, or?
We decided to make this whole project out of Alaskan yellow cedar.
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about that, did we?
One, because it's beautiful, but two, because it's light. And we wanted to make sure everything was as light as possible. I was originally thinking spruce, but I couldn't be happier with this stuff. It is an absolute dream to work with.
Yeah, I actually screwed up a little bit while we were prototyping because I actually prototyped the first one out of poplar. So I had a lot of hardwood help, and then we changed to the softwood material, and like everything changed.
Yeah.
The way it fits, the way things come together.
Oh, it's so forgiving to use a softwood like this.
Oh, I mean, if you haven't tried cutting softwoods with Origin, slow your spindle speed way down. You will burn up the material if you're running super fast. But yeah, I was at a Japanese woodworking festival maybe a weekend or two ago, and they used this for the planing competition, and it smells so good. I mean, you can't smell it. I really wish you could smell it here, but it's like
shop.
it's one of the best smelling woods. I mean, it is like you can just walk through the shop, and it's like you feel like you're in a different place. You know, and the smell lingers quite a long time. So yeah, it's a really nice material. But any softwood, I mean, you could make this out of hardwood if you like to. The thing I like about the softwood, I feel like over time, if you were taking it apart a bunch every year, you know, would be nice, especially if it swells or shrinks. You can just kind of give it a little extra and it'll go in.
Yeah.
Now, Jake, tell me what you're doing over here, because this is actually a pretty important step.
Yes, I'm using the entire front face of the workstation. We cut these tenons over on this side. I am flipping end over end, and now going across on the right-hand side.
And why are you flipping it in that direction specifically?
I want to maintain my reference edge, which this was originally pressed against these pins, so I'm keeping that consistent over here, and this face I'm keeping against the clamping face.
Nice. So that same corner and the same face is being used.
Yeah.
Now, if you haven't done a lot with workstation and reference faces, we do have a project on ShaperHub called Stock Chair. I know we talked about it recently. It has kind of best practices for how to understand all these reference points in software and in hardware. So if you haven't checked that out, Stock Chair is a great one to like learn how to accurately do this. So that way, when you put your pieces together, all the parts that are supposed to be mating flush will come together perfectly. Because if you had milled this a little too thin or thick and you didn't flip it, when you go to cut that other side of the mortise, it's going to be skewed and off plane by like ever so slightly.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do a quick time check where we're at too. 4:25. And if people have, you know, as this is a live show, if you have questions for how things are working, you know, please put it in the chat and we will answer them in the Q&A area.
All right, second round. Here we go.
And Jake, I think while that's running, I'm going to start disassembling this so we can use it for the rest of the demos.
Perfect. Now I definitely decided to do an aggressive cut with these tenons. We're going down 3/8 of an inch in one shot for a couple of reasons. One, it's a softwood. Super easy to cut. Two, we're cutting into the end grain. We're cutting tenons, and usually, almost always, when we're cutting end grain, it just cuts like butter. The way the grain of the wood is oriented makes it for a really easy and enjoyable cut. Now, of course, I always like to tell people to find that out for themselves. Don't go into cutting a tenon full depth your first try. And of course, it changes based on what species of wood you're using. But for speed and efficiency and the live show, right to the final depth works for us. Benchpilot also ramps down for that final cut, so it's not necessarily plunging to 3/8 and then starting. It has a bit of a ramp cycle. And then a finish pass. Whenever I can, I give Origin the opportunity to have a roughing pass, get rid of the meat of the material, and then come in for that finish pass. And there we go. Very satisfying little part. Let's go cut it down.
Nice. All right, and then I'll bring this over here so you can get a little better picture of how we're setting this up. Okay, here we go. So Jake is going to set this up here, and then let's see if this is going to work. Can we see what's going on, Goose?
That's exactly where I want you to stand.
Yeah, this is, I'm like trying to be out of the light a little bit here. Yeah, there we go. So basically all we've done is set it up to where this is right off the edge. Yep. And then, there we go. Such a nice little fist.
I was going to say, can I just say how much I love this saw?
Yeah, if you haven't used it, I mean, it's quite incredible. I mean, the sliding miter sled and everything. I mean, it's just, you can dial in that cut so well too. And then last one.
All right,
boom. So these are our pieces, and let's focus. Oh, maybe we have to put another camera. A little too much. Let's go down here, and we'll pick up our parts. So I think, you know, as far as production goes, I mean, that is way easier than trying to cut all these individuals, put it in, hit run.
For this application.
For
right?
this application.
It feels like the right move.
It's so nice, yeah. So there's our little tenons. Now, I realized one thing we didn't do is just go over the construction of it really quickly. So maybe before we start putting these in, let's just go through the quick construction. So here's the base, and we essentially have the mortises cut for these parts, as well as a big pocket for the platter that goes in the bottom, and Jake and I kind of took a little piece of brass and we just put a little engraving bit in it. So there's a little point there, and the bottom of the dowel has another point. So when these come together, you get a really frictionless, and maybe I'll show both of those off. You get a nice frictionless rotation. And when you're building these, you need basically lightweight and low friction for the candle power to actually be able to move it. And so pretty simple. You'll see in the files. It's just a 8mm brass and then an 1/8" brass. Okay.
Could be any size brass. It's just
it doesn't really matter. And then these are the little platters. And so this platter goes in the bottom. And what you'll notice, there's a little bit of a cutout here. And so when you put it on top of here, all we did, and it's a little too tight. So if we do a close up of the cutout here, you can see it's just a slot with a hole in the middle. And if we come back over to this camera, when you put it on, you just slide it all the way up. And then we drilled a little hole in the middle. And so you take another piece of brass and just shove it in here. And then you just let gravity do its thing. And now when the top rotates, this can't not rotate.
Yeah.
That was kind of one of the early problems we had. So that was a pretty rad little simple problem to solve, I think, there with a pin.
Yeah.
Okay.
A very difficult thing to wrap your head around when we were originally using a solid steel shaft.
Yeah.
How were we going to stop these things from moving around?
Okay. And then basically for these pieces, one is a top, and it has some mortises that mate into the middle piece, like so. And so you can just take all your little parts and fit them. Boop, boop. And man, the softwood is really, actually, honestly, with the softwood, you probably want to cut like almost a positive offset to start, because it's really easy for them to get
all of these
really
are cut
close.
0 to 0.
And what you'll see in this middle piece is I actually offset the tenon. So there's a tenon at the corner here, and then if I flip it, that tenon's actually lowered in the corner, and that matches the top. So that way the tenons can go all the way through. So that would go here, and I think you get the picture. You know, they're just gonna
Set in. I think it's pretty sturdy even without glue. Like I don't think it needs to be glued to feel safe.
Definitely not.
But you could totally glue it up if you want.
okay. Boom, and then we got 4 for the top. So that's
So that center section looks like a double-sided cut.
yes, I did want to talk about this. Okay, so let's pull this top one off again, and we're gonna do this little this last little demo, and then we're gonna take a break. We're not actually gonna cut this because we ran out of material, but we are gonna explain how we go. So we started by basically putting the shelf on. I'll take that from me. Actually, I can move this out of our way too, huh? While we're doing this, I'm just gonna pick this up. So we started by basically putting a shelf down and taking that file that we'd built and essentially just picking the right shapes out of it, making them not reference paths so they can be cut, and then cutting, you know, those basic shapes. So pretty simple first pass. And so with that, you would get the underside cut. It doesn't really matter what order you do it in, but let's say we had cut those, and now we need to re-reference that same file onto that square piece that we cut so that we can cut the other side. And so I'll quickly show you how I did that in Studio, just zooming through that. And so if we go over to here, Goose. So you can see I just took that kind of the template file here, and I selected the right shapes, and then I took them off of a reference path, and I duplicated them, and I dragged them down to the bottom here. And so this is the same size shape, this one and this one, but you'll notice the tenons are in a different spot. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually use the probe rectangle tool to reference the outside of the shape that we've already cut, and then just place the second file on it. So I know that we're gonna do this one, so I'm just gonna go ahead and shift click this one, select it all, and hit make editable. And one of the things about Studio, if you haven't used it for a bunch of time, is we can actually go into plan mode, and Studio gets updates pretty frequently. And you'll notice when I hover these shapes, some of these files are unset and some of them are actually set. And so now this is a new feature in Studio where you can just quickly look through and say, okay, clearly this is wrong. And with Bench Pilot, we do want to encode our shapes for the most part, because especially with multiple depths, we want it to work out. So I'm just gonna go ahead and select this one. I'm holding Shift, and I know that our mortises are 3/8 of an inch.
I'm gonna go a little bit over that.
Oh yeah, how much? Maybe
No, I usually add 0.02.
Okay, plus 0.02. You can do math in these little text boxes, and that's really nice for when you're trying to make something fit. And then you'll notice I've made these outside shapes guides because I don't actually want to cut them, because we've already cut them on the other side. So let's show the probe rectangle feature. If you don't see probe rectangle feature on your tool, or you're like, Sean, what are you talking about? We released this feature as part of a labs program feature, which basically means it's early development, but we think it's cool enough to get it into your hands. And so if you don't have it showing up when you hit the design mode and create, you do need to go to the settings to activate it first. It just takes a second. And if you maybe just show that real quick, Jake, just go into the settings.
Ah, yes.
And then extensions, and then you'll see probe rectangle and probe circle. And these are just two features that allow you to lower a bit and physically touch an object to recreate a digital version of it. And we're going to use that to also find the center points of this rectangle. So when we place that file, it goes into the right spot.
All right, so you can find it under Create, Probe Rectangle, and start down at the bottom of your piece. We're going to put down a total of 5 points. 1, 2. That has established our kind of parallel line. That's our first. Everything from here is going to be square to that line. 1 on the right. 1 along the top. And 1 final one. If I zoom out, you can kind of see it's drawing a rectangle with a center point grid now.
Yeah, and so now we have that perfect element where we're aligned to the edge and we know the center point. So if we go back into Studio and I have this file, and all I need to do is make sure everything else in here is reference path. So actually I'm looking at it and I still have that file from earlier. So I'm just going to hover that and I'm going to shift, drag over those and click the little set as reference and lock. That way, when Jake imports it, he's only going to import this shape here. So let's go ahead and import Jake. And now you should see an updated Automagic file save for you. You don't have to go find your USB stick or download it again. It's just going to be right there.
I love that. I think I did it too soon. Christmas pyramid.
I had been having some Wi-Fi issues earlier.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like that you created a backup too.
I did create a backup because I was like, I don't want to mess it up. So here's the file, and all you need to do is make sure that the position is 0, 0. And you can see that the file here is at 0, 0. And boom. It's just going to be right there. And then, we're not going to mill this because it's already been milled, but put it in Bench Pilot, hit go. All the files are set for those 4 mortises. It'll cut them perfectly aligned in that thing. So that's a really simple flip cut. And we're just using Probe Rectangle, and it works really well. So
yeah, I'd say flip cuts, we used to do them. They've gotten easier, a lot easier since
for sure
the release of Probe Rectangle and Probe Circle.
Yep. And even if your milling is a little off, you're kind of you're getting a center point change instead of a corner change, and so you're kind of averaging out some of those errors. Okay. I think that's a pretty good one.
Take a breather.
Yeah, we're 40 minutes in. We definitely need to take a little break. We're getting pretty close. We have a really exciting one after the break, a little demo we want to show, and then yeah. So what do we got for break today?
We just released another masterclass, and this one is awesome. I mean, I'm biased here, but I think they're all awesome. But this one's super exciting, and we wanted to show you a little sneak peek. It's all about design this time around.
Yeah. So if we come over here. All right, first off, how do we get to the masterclass? Well, if you go to shapertools.com, it's going to be right on the front screen. So if we jump over to my screen here, as soon as you load shapertools.com, you're going to see it right here. And I'm just going to click watch the class. Now, what do you have to do to watch the class? Just sign up. It's just an email. You put it in, and you're going to get access to all the masterclasses. I think I don't even know how many there are now. There are a lot. But this one's all about design. And so Jake, maybe you can talk a little bit about it. We could also show a quick video here if you want to see it.
Let's show the introduction.
I don't know if the audio is going to come by. That's my only question. Let's see.
The design process is always.
What if I turn it up a little bit?
Start here and then you finish with the final product. You go back and pick up some of the first or initial ideas you did. I'm not actually a trained woodworker. I learned in the design school to use all the machinery, which was a dream, and I probably learned it in ways which is not the traditional way, which probably comes across in my work as well, that I'm not doing traditional woodworking. I'm probably doing it with a twist because I'm approaching it as a designer rather than a fine woodworker. Hi, hola, I'm Henrik Tjærby. I'm a product and furniture designer from Denmark, based here in the northern part of Spain, Coruña. I run my studio here working on quite a variety of projects, both as a purely designer for brands. I work for commissions for museums and private clients, and I also work on large-scale manufacturing, working as a design consultant, developing things for market. I would say my design language is quite minimal and honest. I don't like to hide anything. Also, in some projects, I like to have a bit of a playful sort of childish approach or childlike approach, and playing with scale and proportion, because my work is very much down to proportions to make sure that it actually looks pleasing. The project I'm going to show today is a project I've been working on for quite a while, and it started off with a little connection detail of how to join panels. There's lots of flat pack furniture out there and furniture that you can disassemble, but mostly the companies are trying to hide that detail because it's not really pretty, which is not what I'm all about. I rather that the detail is so nice that you want to show it and show that to the user. By the end of these classes, you'll be able to use the machine as I do as a designer, where I use it throughout the process from beginning concept stage all the way down to the final product.
Nice. Some really great content, really great lessons in this one. Also, I have workshop envy.
I actually didn't know we were making this one. I'm like, I want to go watch it right now.
Yeah,
So
it's fantastic.
So a lot of cool things. There's a bunch of different videos. Please check it out. And if you want to see more of the masterclass, it's a whole thing. We have something for everybody: design process, hand tool woodworking, steam bending, tambour, box making. I mean, the list is getting pretty long these days.
It's pretty well rounded.
Yeah. So anyways, please check out the new masterclass and let us know. We have the forum, and always send an email at hello@shapertools.com if you know anybody, or you have any good ideas, or if you just loved it. So yeah.
Realize I skipped over this in the beginning of the break. If we could bring up that poll question, we want to ask,
Oh yeah, poll.
what is your favorite gift that you have made for somebody? Just think back over the years and think of that one thing that either they really loved or you really loved giving, like that special one. Reminder, you got to answer that question in order to enter your name into our giveaway at the end.
Do you have one, Jake? Do you have a favorite gift you've made for someone?
Yeah, we did. My wife and I did a whole series of jewelry, of like laminated wood earrings, and everybody got earrings.
Nice.
Even if they didn't have pierced ears, they got earrings.
I think I may have one in my house somewhere.
I think so. But that was a lot of fun to do, and it was just a simple, laminating purple heart and sapele and different colors of wood, and then using trace to actually like draw out the shapes that we wanted. And bada bing. I wish that I had Bench Pilot at that point. That would have been just.
I mean, once you get Bench Pilot, the whole world kind of changes a little bit, So, okay, cool. So that's Masterclass and Shop Poll. So please answer that for giveaways after the end of this and Q&A. And we have a shop video.
Yes, this one's coming over from Angie.
I know. Actually, I have to apologize because last week I put the request out again that we need more shop videos, and apparently we already had one. So
we had this one
so
in the tank.
Let's roll it, Goose.
So this is a 32 by 35 addition to our home. Has these nice big double doors. Usually put material right in here. This was in addition to the house. It was already here when we bought the house. So you'll see that I am a little bit of a lumber hoarder. Lots of lumber everywhere where you go. Lots of storage for lumber. Got my table saw here in the center. Some storage here. This is probably the most organized space that I have. My miter saw, sanding station, little bandsaw. Usually use it for this CNC and my laser storage, and some other lumber up there. And my planer and joiner here. It's just a work table. This is like the world's worst outfeed table. It's super rickety. My bandsaw, drill press, a router table here. And right now I have my Origin set up on my MFT table. I'm not sure where I'm gonna put it next, but definitely need to find a new home for it. Lots of stuff that could probably be gone. And this other side, I have my desk collection here. A little bit of hardware storage. Do have a nice sink area. In this room I have a air compressor on a hose reel. This goes outside. Lots of lumber. Going through this now to see what all I do have and organize it. We took down a walnut tree, and behind here is the material from that. I have some other projects that are waiting to be finished. So I do have quite quite a big space, a lot of space. This big bulkhead is a nice place to hang up my clamps here. And this goes into the house. I do have a bathroom next to it, and then storage upstairs. Lots of space, maybe not well utilized. I am working on plans for a miter station along here. But that's my space, and got my little plate here, and
Dang.
Pretty rad.
That's such an epic shop.
I know. I was looking at I was thinking my shop. I'm like, man, I spent so many years trying to get everything, in a tiny little spot.
Yeah.
Space.
Got room to grow.
I don't think that this thing will be not glued up at our shop. It will be glued up. There will be plenty of room.
Yeah.
You just pick it up at the end of the year, move it into storage, and bring it back out.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sending that to us, Angie. Fantastic space.
Yeah.
We always love seeing your space. Again, reminder, you can send us a video roughly around 3 minutes, landscape orientation, narrated. Doesn't have to be fancy, but it doesn't have to be clean, doesn't have to be nice. We want to see your space.
Totally. It's all about seeing it. It's like we spend a lot of time with each other every week. Like we get to see each other's spaces as well.
We get
fun.
to draw inspiration from their spaces. Like now,
It's true. It's true. Now I'm gonna go
feel inspired by Angie's
rearrange
shop.
some stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We're a little over. Goose is probably gonna be yelling at us pretty soon. It's 4:50, so we're 50 minutes in. We have two little things to talk about. The first one, which I'm actually pretty excited about, is this hub. So how do we create this hub? And you'll see I pulled one out during the break so you can see it. But we want to talk about how we created kind of this hub, because this is probably a pretty cool thing to go over. So step one, we had to design the fins. So we Jake actually drew out kind of a shape he liked. We traced it and rebuilt some of the things in studio, made some test cuts, made my really thick ones that didn't work. He made one out of oak.
Just
to make me really happy today. But clearly it's too heavy. And then we finally moved to this one. So one of the things we did with this file is actually we sized this point to be 1/2 inch. So I think he rebuilt that in studio afterwards so we have a nice insertion. And then we made this kind of 16-sided.
Bob would be so impressed if you knew that was called 16-sided shape.
I don't know the name of it, but it's like a pentagon, but more sides.
Yeah.
And then we actually wanted to reference and slot in all these spots. So maybe if I come over to this camera, you can just see. We come over here for a second, Goose. So we have these slots, and they're at 30 degrees from the bottom, so that we can get that proper lift from the flame.
Goose just came in with
I was gonna actually say it. Just remembered it, Jake.
It's called a hexadecagon.
Okay. Anyways, moving on. If we go over to Studio real quick, we can create those right in Studio by hitting Make Shape, clicking Polygon, and you can type in however many you want. We can do 17 if we wanted. You can scale that up or down, etc. So pretty easy to create these shapes. Jake also brought in the trace of the fan part, and then he kind of duplicated it around to start seeing how much overlap we would get and where. So that was pretty cool. And then we just cut out one of these hubs. So you got the hub over here, Jake, and we can talk about the kind of really interesting part of this, which is a jig we built for Workstation to help index over and over those little cuts.
So the hub is quite simple. Again, it has a 1/2 inch hole for our dowel down the center. We want that to be a nice tight friction fit, because that does not need to spin.
Yeah, no spinning on that part.
And we have these tiny little flat reference spots. It's like, okay, we could press that up against the support bar to get it, trustworthy, flat. Or we could build a jig. And Sean is very proud of this one.
I'm actually pretty excited
As
about
you
this
should
jig.
be. It's very cool.
I mean, when you make a good jig, it's just like,
Right.
and all the parts are already there. So I just kind of popped them into a new studio file and changed a couple things.
So he started off with 2 pins for the reference pins on the front face of workstation. This is how we're really registering repeatedly.
Yeah, and sorry to interrupt, Jake, but we actually have a project for the workstation that has all the parts of the size, the pins, the slots. So if you want to create quick jigs on the workstation, you can import that, select the elements you need, delete everything else, and that's how I built that part.
Yeah. Then we take that same shape, pocket it out with a little bit of offset so that it actually fits. And you got rid of the corners with some circle reliefs, and of course 2 points to be able to get your fingers behind it and pop it out. So we'll pop this in there. And these sweet Stako clamps
Oh, the little toggle clamps.
to hold it into place.
You know, holding little parts can be quite hard, you know. But if you have these little toggle clamps, they just really they make it so easy to hold little parts.
Yeah.
And so while you're clipping that in, we're just holding it in with a single clamp on the side because we have 2 points on the other side. And now we need to just figure out how to get the file into that part. So if we jump over to Studio, I'm just going to showcase a little bit of how I built this real quick. As you can see here, I have basically a big area that represents the workstation. These 2 holes came out of that shared project that I was telling you about, and everything else I just built kind of with some basic understanding. So I wanted this shape to be at 0, 0, so that way everything would be easy to align properly. And so that means the center of this face is what we're actually going to mill was right in the middle. So I can use that kind of center line. And I knew it was 5 inches off the edge of this. So I just made I kind of came up, dragged a rectangle, and I just put the size rectangle that we have. Now, if you were doing harder wood, you would want to kind of round these corners. But for soft wood, it's just gonna go right in. I think Jake actually just carved off the corners a little bit.
Yeah, I did this really cool new technique called whittling.
Called whittling. Yeah. Do you want to tell us more about that?
Yeah, it's you take a knife and you shape it.
So, and actually, this knife has some history, doesn't it?
It's a shaper-made knife.
It was an original trace knife from like years ago, I think.
Yeah.
Anyways, just a little whittling off the camera. Yeah, show it off there, Jake.
Yeah, Russ made this one.
Yeah, he did. I can't believe he didn't take it with him. You know, it's a nice little knife. It's pretty fun. It has like a little fish vibe.
Yeah.
Like, or a little bird or something, you know. But yeah, just a little whittle in the corner. It'll go right in. You don't need to worry about rounding corners. But the key part here is to get the spacing correct.
Yes.
Right. So I know the center is 5 inches off the left, so I put another rectangle up here. And then I knew how big the face of the rectangle was, so I recreated that here. This is essentially the top element of this.
That top flat spot.
Top flat spot. And then I just put the file there. So now when Jake makes a grid, he can just place this, and it'll be right on the top of that.
You do me a favor and make everything a reference path except for what I want to cut.
All right, so let's copy all this and hit that reference path button. Boom.
Reminder, turning things to a reference path just makes it so that it's only seen in Studio and that you can use it to build things in Studio, but not on Origin.
Yeah, and it doesn't change any values or anything, so you can just kind of reference path on and off. And the beauty of it, if I try to drag this, if I want something to never move, I can just turn it to reference path. I cannot move that. If I'm trying to move this, I'm clicking and dragging. Nothing's moving. All that. Now these, obviously, if I click and drag, they will move. But everything else that's not will not. You know. Okay.
All right. So I'm going to create a quick grid to be able to place this file.
Yep.
Now, this is not ideal, but we changed some thicknesses in our process. So I'm going to grid off of this tiny little section. It's not ideal because we like to spread those points 1 and 2 out in order to really get an accurate representation of the x-axis. Ideally, if we were to redo this, we would make this pocket as deep as our material is thick so that you could just touch off on the front of this jig. So originally it was, but we thinned everything out to reduce weight. All right, and that last one is all the way over here on the left-hand side. Let's go ahead and grab the hub jig using that bottom left anchor and snapped right at 0, 0. Boom. That's what I care about. And look at that. It fits within my range, so I can use helix.
Now, this is where me and Jake disagree, because I built one the other day, and I used bench pilot.
I mean, yeah.
And Jake, he was like, he was going all manual mode. So, you can do it either way. It's probably honestly about the same timing when it comes to this. If you are using origin manually, make sure you hit that helix button, because that's going to automatically go to that final depth for you and kind of work its way around. And you don't have to do it manually.
That's the beauty of it. You have options. I'm
You
going to do
do.
it manually, and then maybe I'll click it in. I don't know.
Yeah, then maybe we will.
All right.
All right. So this is helixing mode. You can see he's not even moving origin. It just happens to fit this, which is a nice design detail. And then all he needs to do is move origin out of the way so we can see what's going on. Unloosen those toggle clamps, pull it out, rotate it one. It indexes automatically. Boom. And then right back to it. Now, obviously, you're going to have to do this 16 times. And even if you are doing it with bench pilot, you'd have to take it out, put it back in. So timing savings doesn't probably really matter. But it's just a simple little jig, repeatable indexes over and over. We created it based off the files that we used originally to make it. So really, it didn't take me any time. And if you had some more, if there's questions in the chats about, hey, how actually did you make that? Maybe there's a future session where we could show how we're taking pre-made parts and then making jigs with the workstation template, as well as kind of how I would build this step by step, because we were glossing over quite a bit of that. But you can see it's a really sweet little jig just for repeatedly cutting the same thing over and over. And then maybe, Jake, just to prove it's actually being repeatedly cut in the right spot, let's put it in that close camera so people can really see. Yeah, so rotate it, 13 more times, and you're done. So this is, and while we're doing this, we basically just took this and made sure it was fitting. Ooh.
It's nice.
Yeah, that's real nice. So because these are all press fit, you don't want to go too loose. You can always whittle them off a little more. Jake, maybe you show the whittling technique.
The material is an 1/8 inch. Our mortise is an 1/8 inch. So I really was just trying to knock down my sharp corners. Right there.
You're just a little tiny router pit.
Just a little bit. And then ease that front lip. And, I mean, precision, really.
Okay, so that is the hexagon jig. Now, we are pretty much out of time, and we want to get to Q&A soon. So I did want to mention one cool thing, and it's not put together right now, so it's not going to be as cool. But if we come over to this thing here, I wanted to showcase something, because as we were building this, one of our engineers, Grace, walked by and said, "Hey, you got any figures for that?" And I said, "Sure don't."
But, I haven't gotten there yet.
But we might not get there. But look at this. Grace helped us out. Maybe you can show some of these on camera. Grace drew a bunch of characters so she could trace them and cut little figurines out. And so she's also put them all up on ShaperHub. And so if you want to do some that you don't want to draw your own, you can just grab these. Here's maybe show off a couple little of the actual characters. It's a quite cool thing. I mean, the whole point of this is to load those platters up with little trinkets,
Little scenes.
Now, if you load them up too much, you're going to need some more candle power, because the weight is really a key factor of this. But yeah, there's a bunch of these on there. Maybe Ted can we just go to my screen real quick for a second, Goose, and I'll show you. So these are all the files that she created. I don't know if I mentioned it. She's a manufacturing engineer. She helps build the actual physical hardware for us and make sure that everything comes out perfect for our customers. So she also has a quite good hand.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
If you want to make some of these, you can click them. And we have a new feature where you can either directly sync them into your files, and that will send the file over there, or if you just click Open in Studio, that's going to open in Studio, and you just need to click this Sync to My Files button, and then boom, when you hit Edit, it's now in your files, and you can make changes to it. You can plan it out and see, okay, if I was to cut this with an 1/8 inch bit, obviously this isn't going to fit with that, so maybe maybe what I'll do is I will cut all these with an engraving bit. So I'm just going to select those. And yep, I could go a little deeper, figure out how it's going to look, bring it over into Origin, cut them out. If I had Bench Pilot, I'd probably just copy them all and place them on a piece of material and hit go.
Sure.
So yeah, would love to see if you want to design your own characters, different types. Justine also made us a cool little snowman. There's all sorts. I mean, I really think when you think about this project, Jake, one of the coolest things that I like about it was we kind of just built this like basic frame, and what you do to it is up to you. I mean, we talked about taking these tenons and making them much beefier, and then after you cut the mortise, or after you cut the tenons, put it on the lathe, spin it, and make fluted columns.
Obviously, you are
whatever.
not a turner.
I don't know any. I've not. I will tell you this. I've never used a lathe.
Oh man.
Would you believe that?
Yeah, you got to change that.
I mean, like I said earlier, I don't have any room in my workshop. There's no more room. One more tool is just going to break everything,
Benchtop lathes.
And I was a ceramicist at one point, and I really,
It's the wrong axis.
I really got there. It's a different axis, but same vibe, I think. So I'm a little scared.
Oh,
I get
we'll get past that.
addicted. Anyways, I hope people, when I get them up online, we'll get them on ShaperHub, post to the forum. I would love to see what you do with it. Make some changes. Tell us what wood you used. Make the base different. I mean, one detail we didn't even get to go over is we really wanted to make some candle holders that were really nice and like integrated into the base so that the base actually holds all the candles in the right spot. Ran out of time. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Even for the early holiday show, we ran out of time.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But it was still cool. That was the thing that like 15 minutes before the show, we were
it's
like,
true.
we need candle holders.
It's true. And it was like Bench Pilot cranked it out while we were running around.
Bench Pilot, Trace, and Studio.
Yeah. So all the tools coming together to make it. And yeah, if you have questions, please let us know in the comments. We'll make sure the files get up in a relatively quick manner, and can't wait to see what you do with it.
Yeah. This seems like a joke, but it's actually the only lighter we have in the office.
It is the only lighter we have, but it works really well.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go back and light a few of these, and then let's see. This was something me and Jake actually, we were a little worried on Monday because we were trying to get this thing to start moving around. It wasn't doing a lot of moving, but
Slow and steady to begin.
it's going. Now, when you add more figurines and weight, it's harder to do. So if we take these off, it
I don't think
might
it's gonna
start
change too
spinning
much.
better. Ow. Yeah, you gotta be careful. The flame burns. Okay. Now, if you're not getting enough movement you like, you just gotta add more candle power. And I've seen some cool ones where people had these candles kind of off of the second platform as well, and so
Yeah.
you can really get it moving. And where you put them affects it. The draft in the room affects it. I was reading online that during the day before you light it, people would leave their windows and doors open in the house, and the breeze would just catch the fan, and it would just like rotate without candle power sometimes.
So cool.
I'd say it starts pretty fast. I'm pretty
Yeah.
happy with the mechanism, and I'm sure we could make it better if we did a brass bushing at top. And
That's the thing. You're trying to minimize your friction points. Down below, it's literally a point coming to two metal surfaces coming together. So I feel good about that. That top section is wood on wood,
Yep.
and I don't think we waxed it.
we did not wax it, so it could get a little better if we wanted. We'll see you next time.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Peace.